Hello and welcome to the second lecture on the topic the many and the none. So, in our first lecture, I had discussed with you the orders of the article, and we had also gone through the first three paragraphs where we have seen uh, how the authors highlight on the importance of biodiversity. They say that biodiversity is the spice of life. Now, why do they say so? Because our life on earth, just imagine if it was to be black and white alone, or just one species of organism existing, it would have been a tiring world. But every day we come across different shapes and different sizes and different colors, different types and breeds of animals, birds, plants and flowers, fruits and vegetables. So it's only possible because we have biodiversity. It is biodiversity that brings up the variety. It is because of diversity that there is variation among the living creatures. As such, variety is the spice of life. We came across the term biodiversity. Biodiversity or biological diversity has been referred to as the variety and variability of life on earth. Biodiversity is nothing but the diverse, or rather the variations of life forms that is available on the earth. It can be a plant species, it can be an animal, it can be ecosystem, it can be wood, it can be fruits, and many more. So biodiversity, it is one of the intrinsic qualities of our planet Earth. We came across the term flagship species, and we had understood what flagship species mean. These species have been bookmarked or tagged as charismatic animals which have been used to represent various conservation programs. It is because these animals evoke awe, excitement, attraction, adoration, admiration from the general public, and they are capable of gathering mass sympathy. That is why flagship species are used as ambassadors for various conservation programs like WWF, the panda that represents it. Then we have our own one-horned rhino that is used as conservation program icon for conserving our biosphere in Kaziranga Wildlife Sanctuary. We have the tiger representing the conservation of the Mana Wildlife Sanctuary. There are numerous other examples, by the way. The authors draw our attention towards genetic variation, which is the least obvious aspect of biodiversity. Genes are the basic structures that build up life. It is also the base of continuous evolution. Our survival on this earth has been made possible because genes are able to mutate, change, and adapt with a changing environment. That is why we have different varieties of the same animal. That is why the horse, it exists in different colors and in different shapes. The giraffe and its spots, the marks on its body are so different from one another. The numerous multicolored shells, the numerous colored rice, the seeds of rice, they are so variant. Why? Because there is genetic variation. Natural genetic variation is essential for evolution because it helps an animal to compete and contest for survival on this planet Earth. I suppose all of you know that the theory that was established by Charles Darwin, natural selection, how an animal like giraffe, which earlier did not have a very long neck, gradually changed itself, leading to the present day giraffe with a very tall, very long neck, okay, so that it can chew upon the leaves from the topmost branches of trees. It is nothing but genetic variation that has made it possible. There is also another form of variation, which is artificial selection. For example, we have the artificially variated forms of the mustard plant. The mustard, yes, the common mustard that is used to make the various other vegetables that we consider to be normal these days. For example, cauliflower, cabbage, Brussels sprout, kohlrabi, broccoli. These are nothing but genetically changed form of mustard. How is this possible? This is possible by artificial selection. A very common example is tomatoes. Genetic variation in tomatoes, which are very natural, lead to these various shapes, size, and taste in tomato. Whereas the hybrid or genetically engineered or even doctored tomato lead into one-sized with the same color, with the same texture, the same kind of fruit. How is this possible? This is possible by genetic engineering, or what we called biotechnology. Now, is it good? Or rather, why are vegetables doctored? There are two basic reasons why. Number one, to maximize production, yield, and harvest of the same kind of product. Those products which are economically beneficial, which can draw a huge amount of money and capital. So, vegetables are doctored or treated genetically, resulting in hybrid products which are maximum in size and also amount or number. Second reason is to produce a product that sells well because of its good look. Attractive products as such. Now, this is why vegetables are doctored. But is it good for vegetables? Or it is anyway good for biodiversity? Genetic variation is essential, but technically or biotechnologically changed or artificially induced variations in genes can be very, very dangerous for biodiversity. So, our authors, they are very much concerned about how such artificially induced genetic variation in plants, vegetables, fruits, etc. are directly influencing the natural variations of genes. And they write, let us continue from page number 56. The word biodiversity is often heard in connection with how it is fast disappearing. The call has been sounded frequently that if humanity is not careful, we are going to lose the fiber of the planet that makes life possible. So, the authors here are talking about how biodiversity is losing grounds. There has been a lot of hue and cry about the fast disappearance of biodiversity. But are we human careful enough? Are we cautious not to lose the fiber of the planet? What is the fiber of the planet? Biodiversity. And it is very much associated with genetic variations or genetic diversity. Some of us might be familiar with the simile about the ship that is losing one nut at a time. Each step does not seem to be a significant loss in itself, but lose enough of them and the ship is surely going to sink. We have to remember that our earth is like a ship. Now, a ship is carried afloat, or a ship can sail on the waters because it is technically crafted in such a way. There are nuts and bolts that hold it tight. The planks of platform, the wooden planks of platform, they are being joined, they are attached one to one through these nuts, the small insignificant nuts and bolts. But if one nut is lost, it doesn't sound like a big deal, does it? But it is a big deal. If you are not cautious enough, if one nut after other falls apart, ultimately the entire ship will sink. I suppose you have heard this poem. If not, then just listen it. It's called For the Want of a Nail. It was something that we read as students in class 6. So let me read it out for you. For want of a nail, the shoe was lost. For want of a shoe, the horse was lost. For want of a horse, the rider was lost. For want of a rider, the message was lost. For want of a message, the battle was lost. For want of a battle, the kingdom was lost. And all for the want of a horseshoe nail. This poem was written with reference to the death of King Richard III of England. And it is a simple suggestion how a simple event can kick off a casual sequence resulting in catastrophic, drastic consequences, just like the loss of that nut of a ship. It does not seem to be a significant loss, but if you continue to lose many of these nuts, then one day the ship is surely going to sink. Similar is the condition of our earth, biodiversity. If any of the biodiverse species is harmed, it does not affect the planet directly or immediately. But if this loss continues further, it would be catastrophic for the existence of this planet. So, the authors write, we are slowly and surely losing the species and genes that keep the earth afloat. In time, if we are not able to halt this decline, this ship will sink. Our planet is like a floating ship, and the authors are worried that if we human beings are not able to stop this decline in biodiverse species or biodiversity loss, then definitely the Earth's ship is going to sink. There are already signs of this manifested by a series of global changes in climate, hydrological patterns, and other ecological functions that we all survive on, and by the collapse of global fisheries, the desertification of tens of millions of hectares of once productive land, the loss of soil nutrition, and so on. Not all these are caused by biodiversity loss, but such loss is a significant factor in triggering or aggravating these phenomena. The earth is gradually declining. The health of the earth is very poor. The once green planet is today collapsing. You can see a lot of change in the climatic conditions, global warming, a phenomena of the same, desertification. Thousands of acres of once fertile, cultivable land has today turned into barren deserts. And why? Because of this loss. Though biodiversity loss is not directly linked up with these changes like global warming and so on, yet it can definitely trigger or boost up or rather speed up in worsening this phenomena which he called global warming, global changes in climate, the climatic changes that we are having. There has been a drastic change in the climatic patterns, the water system. There are places where you don't get to drink even a drop of fresh water, clean water. Then the other ecological functions, global fisheries. Once the water bodies were filled up with different varieties of fishes, but today you hardly find any species of fish left because these fisheries have dried up. Lands have become deserts, barren. The soil and its quality, the fertility of the soil, that is lost. And why? Basically because there has been a loss in biodiversity. As such, the authors add, these warnings are not a moment too early, nor are they unnecessarily alarmist. If you are thinking that these warnings are too early, then they are not. It is actually a very, very alarming situation. Biodiversity and its loss are not abstract notions. Abstract means unreal notions, unlikely to affect our generation or the following. Biodiversity is closely tied into our lives and identities in many ways. The view that the planet is meant to serve only our needs is not tenable. As human beings, proud of our ability to think and feel, we should be concerned about the negative impact that this line of thought had on the rest of the living world. So, our planet is not something that we are going to take away forever. We have to leave it for our future generation as such. We are just human beings. Yes, it's true that we are blessed with the ability to think in a better way and feel and understand and convey our emotions. But it would be wrong if we think that the planet is meant to serve our needs. It is indeed a very, very wrong thought. So, we have to think about this real fact that the world, the earth, is also the habitat of several other species of animals, birds, and plants. So, let us keep it for the rest of the world, for our future generation as well. Though it concerns all of us, biodiversity is most directly related to the everyday lives of India's ecosystem people. Now, who are these ecosystem people? These people are directly dependent on the existence of biodiversity for their living. The forest is their home. Nature is their greatest benefactor. They derive all the necessary things of life, their livelihood, their daily bread, that is totally dependent on the existence of nature and its biodiverse forms. Hundreds of millions of small farmers, fisher folk, herders, and hunter gatherers, a substantial number of them tribal, depend on the diversity of species, genetic varieties, and ecosystem services for their livelihoods and cultural life. It provides them with their fuel, food, fodder for livestock, housing materials, medicine, and spiritual sustenance. So these people, the tribal people mostly, they are completely dependent on the existence of biodiversity. Hunters, cultivators, fishermen, herders, people who keep folk of livestock or animals, poultry farming, and so on. These people who are mostly, most of them, you can call it 90% of these people are basically tribal people. They are directly dependent on the ecosystem, the forest, the jungle for their livelihood, because it is the forest that give them their daily needs: fuel to cook food, food in the form of various fruits and roots that is available in the forest, fodder for the animals that they keep, housing material, wood, straw, hay, everything is collected from the jungle. Even medicine, if they are sick, they don't go to a doctor, rather they have nature, the various herbs and roots that are available in the forest. These are used for their medicinal purposes. As such, the authors write that the loss of biodiversity is a direct attack on their very survival. The life of these people would be under threat if biodiversity is lost. For this part of humanity, the ship, is already sinking. As you can see, the ship, the planet, the part of the planet where these people live, the ecosystem people live, that planet is already sinking because the forests are fast disappearing. People are chopping down trees in order to construct skyscrapers. There are places where they had once upon a time, these people, they had uh, cultivated crops, grown crops for their survival. But today, the fertility of those land, it's lost, and their life are really under threat. So you can see how biodiversity, it is it is essential for the existence of life, it is essential for the existence of human beings, and how the attack on biodiversity, it can result in the end of life on earth. And for an example, we have seen how these people who we call the ecosystem people, they are actually harmed, and their survival is actually put on question because biodiversity is gradually declining. So there is a request made on behalf of made by the authors here in order to conserve biodiversity. I suppose all of you have understood this part. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you will comment on the section that is given below. Thank you very much.